Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out the numbers while we run the headlines here. There we go. Let's get the numbers up. MasterCard Circle. Eurogroup meets with the U.S. Treasury. What's that all about? World's top banks exposure to crypto and yes, XRP. Credit Suisse says they can be a rising phoenix. We'll hear from the CEO. Ripple announced their first ever marketplace. We'll tell you for what. And the Digital Euro Association sits down with Ripple's Anthony Welfare and Anthony Rouse. They talk XRP, private ledger CBDCs, mint, destroy, circulating supply of money. We talk about lots of banks and everything else. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook for exclusive content. Right now, we're back over $1 trillion market cap for crypto, but we're still missing $2+ trillion from the space and the all-time high of cryptocurrency. Good afternoon, everybody. Coin Paprika, give them a follow, download the app. Bitcoin right now is 20,100 plus, Ethereum 1,300 plus, and we see XRP at 47 cents, up a little more, almost 5.5% on the 24-hour. If you haven't checked them out, check out the sponsor, Masterworks. I'm a customer too, and I love it. For the first time ever, we can invest in fine art, and you can do it for a minimum investment of $500 at $20 a share. And I tell you something, you could also compare it next to the S&P 500, housing market, corporate U.S. bond market, or gold. And against the S&P, we see right now, this particular artist's appreciation of similar works, over 24%. Nothing is guaranteed, but this is certainly worth looking into. Link underneath the video. Take a look at this. You know, I covered this morning, but I want to get this very short clip where we hear Gary Gensler really claim again that he openly does not know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, when we know for a fact that Department of Homeland Security went and interviewed people that they said 4 people, in fact, make up Satoshi Nakamoto. Maybe Gary should call the Department of Homeland Security once in a while.
Thank you, Secretary Yellen. I'd like to thank the staff of the FSOC for working to produce today's thoughtful report on financial stability risks associated with the crypto market, and I, too, support it. The first big crypto token, Bitcoin, was proposed 14 years ago this month on a cypherpunk mailing list. It was Halloween night, 2008, in the middle of the financial crisis. And Satoshi Nakamoto wrote about a new way to move value on the internet without a central intermediary. Nakamoto, we still don't know who she, he, or they were.
Well, that isn't true. And if it is, then you're incompetent, because the Department of Homeland Security Special Agent Rana Sayad says they went and investigated him.
I want to go interview Satoshi Nakamoto. And we're like, what? He said, yeah, I want to go interview this guy. And at the time, we're like, hey, it's a figment of somebody's imagination. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not true. So, you know, we had all this pushback from our headquarters. And we thought, hey, if an agent wants to go talk to him and we have some money, why don't we send him? Let's find out how this works. So as it came to be, the agents flew out to California, and they realized that he wasn't alone in creating this. There were 3 other people, and they sat down and met with them and talked to them to find out how this actually works and what their reason for it was.
And there you have that right there. So, why does he continue to carry that narrative? I just don't know, but it is troublesome. MasterCard introduces a new product that allows banks to find and prevent fraud on crypto merchant platforms within its network. This really appears to be something that mirrors a service that they already provide as MasterCard anyway, right? The idea is the kind of trust we provide for digital commerce transactions really brought over to the digital asset transaction, consumer banks, and merchant side of the crypto world. So banks and other MasterCard issuers that use Crypto Secure will see a color-coded risk rating of crypto merchants, which represent the risk of suspicious or fraudulent activity connected to said merchant. So there you have that. Now let's take a look at this. We got a lot to see today. You're going to want to see every bit of it too. This here, we covered a longer, more in-depth version, but this is the long and short of it right here. Give Michael Branch a follow. He's a Hall of Famer. We want to be a full reserve digital currency bank, says Jeremy Allaire from Circle. We'd like a framework for that to exist. We'd like to apply for that license if such a license was available. We think the world needs a full reserve banking system. Well, amen to that. Fractional banking obviously doesn't work. Now, I'll tell you, I find this to be interesting too. Eurogroup is to meet with the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on October 13th in Washington, D.C. Well, this should be very interesting. Shout out to Sherry for sharing the information here. And basically what it made me think of about the idea of what's going on around the world here is we covered recently a BRICS meeting that happened in New York also with the foreign ministers of BRICS. We should resolutely resist decoupling and severing supply chains and barriers in science and technology and jointly build an open world economy so as to achieve a more robust, greener, and more balanced global development. That's what we're talking about. And we know they have announced that they want to introduce their own international reserve currency and new payment system, which is built, they say. In this news is exciting to me. World's top banks have exposure to around $9 billion worth of crypto, including Bitcoin, Ether, Polkadot, Cardano, and XRP. You know, it makes me wonder here too, wonder how they purchased that XRP. Also wonder how many option contracts, if any, with Ripple and these top banks there may be or not. But I tell you, when I get into this, we look into it again, Hall of Famer Michael, shout out to him. The study shows, if you get down here, the largest holdings, almost 90%, is between Bitcoin and Ethereum. But if you get into the others, it's about a 2% hold where it shows here XRP, Cardano, and obviously Polkadot as well, right? Now, that's where I wonder about options contracts in these situations and the exposure. What exposure doesn't necessarily mean you're holding it directly either, right? So that's another interesting point to take. But nevertheless, it begs the question. Then there's this clip right here, Crypto Insight UK. This guy does a great job. Shout out to you, Crypto Insight UK. And this is a clip where he's covering the CEO of Credit Suisse saying they're going to rise like a phoenix. Now, he's talking about that term that's normally used for XRP in this context, but listen to the news of what the CEO is talking about rising like a phoenix and why and what area.
Guys. And like, obviously, this could be coincidence.
It could very well be coincidence.
It depends if you believe in coincidence, but I'm just going to play you the clip anyway, and you let me know what you think. I mean, I don't know. This is a phrase that is used all the time in the XRP community. The XRP is going to rise like a phoenix. And literally, what's this from 6 hours ago, I think, 1:44 a.m. Right now it's 11:54. So let's say that's 10 hours ago. Credit Suisse CEO comes out and says Credit Suisse are going to rise like a phoenix. Listen.
On the liquidity and the critical moment, the part that struck me is the metaphor the CEO uses, is that Credit Suisse is looking to rise like a phoenix. That's from the ashes. And so
is this coincidence? Then I got this little clip here from Token Topics on Twitter from 3 hours ago. Credit Suisse says bank will rise like a phoenix. Credit Suisse is the latest global bank to agree cross-border payments ready for distributed tech. A 135-page report, Credit Suisse offers their research expertise blockchain, declaring that it will fundamentally change every aspect of banking and finance for the next 10 years. Furthermore, the report comes to the same conclusion as Ripple on the question of where these shifts will occur first and will have the most significant impact: cross-border payments. A shared ledger creates significant opportunity for cost-cutting in a number of areas where current processes are slow, cumbersome, and highly fractional. These areas include the processing of trades and securities, trade finance, and also in payments, particularly cross-border payments and transactions. Credit Suisse cites Ripple as an example of tech for banks to cut costs and increase revenue in payments. So
Yeah, so that gets exciting on its face itself, just to see what Credit Suisse has got going there. Now, we know also that they've worked with Ethereum and mentioned Ethereum in the past. We'll have to hear how all of this shakes out. You're going to hear from a developer, Anthony Rouse, and also Anthony Welfare Advisor for Ripple as well. And you're going to hear them talk about the idea and understanding that there will be multiple ledgers used, but the interoperability can be provided by the XRP ledger. Right? There you go. So Ripple announced as a founding partner of this first ever Web3 carbon credit marketplace. This is with Thalo that they're going to be doing this with. And they're off to the races. And there it is right there. There's not much else to say about it other than it's starting, ladies and gentlemen. But here we want to start by giving the clips. And this whole thing is really great. But I want to start with this clip early on here. And it is Anthony Welfare giving you this first little shot right here. Take a listen. And this says in here, lots of different banks.
I will just share you an overview of our thought process for the CBDC model. So I'm Anthony Welfare. I'm the senior advisor for CBDCs at Ripple. And looking after partnerships and really growing out the CBDC system. So we've been working on this for about 2 years now. So there's a team of, I think it's about 35 people globally. So we're really taking CBDC seriously. We work with lots of different banks.
Work with lots of different banks, and there you have that. Now I want to take you to Anthony Rouse, where he's in the middle of a demonstration where he's showing through accounts that he's put up to show this currency he created for the example, the demonstration. But you can mint, pay, and destroy currency after you make it. And you can also monitor the circulation of what is still out there in supply. Now, this is pretty remarkable. Listen to Anthony Rouse talk about this.
More of like a day-to-day operational view rather than a system setup view. I can see all the transactions or the mint requests that we've been issued so far. Across the top here, I can also see payment instructions. So if I'm moving money to third parties, we can also destroy currency. So we can remove it from circulation by redeeming it or allowing it to be removed from circulation. So that's another key business process, an operational process that the system can cater for.
Very, very big deal right there. I mean, it just tells you the depth of what they've done with this software and the ability to interact with the ledger as well. Okay, now let me move. First of all, I am skipping so much great content in this interview. And shout out to the Digital Euro Association for having these gentlemen on. This is why they're there. It's unbelievable. I'm going to bring you in here where you're going to hear them discuss the XRP payment as a payments ledger and how 1,500 transactions per second and how you really run the ledger to underpin the banking system, right? The central banks or the CBDCs. Let him tell you. Here it is right here.
Again, thank you. Another great question. I think if I look back to the inception of the XRP ledger, that Ripple have been privy to and been party to along the evolution of that ledger. It was designed really from the ground up to be a payments ledger. It wasn't designed to be a generic ledger. It was designed purely for payments and being good at payments. And that's one of the reasons why Ripple has done so much work in this space, because that's where we think there's an opportunity here. And that's why we're using it as a raw underpinning of the CBDC platform.
Whoa, that's a biggie. Like the raw underpinning of the CBDC platform. I mean, we know this, but hearing this guy has worked on the ledger for 5 years now for the purpose of central bank digital currencies, by the way. Pretty inspiring to hear that. Now let's move to this, because at 36 minutes, we're going to hear him talk about the benefits of the ledger itself and how, hooks and things of that nature. A lot of these things are built in, like you don't have to do the ERC20 token creation in comparison to Ethereum. All of this stuff is there. You literally just hit the buttons and kind of go, is the way I understand it. Again, not a developer, but listen to this clip right here. And no error rate.
Eligible in terms of the running from a CBDC perspective. And again, that gives us control and capability. And I think also the other from a technology perspective is the ledger itself has a lot of underlying native functionality built into it. So we're not having to write smart contracts or program code to enable features like escrow capability to be, and that's why we're able to leverage things like issuing currencies very, very easily. We don't have to write a smart contract to issue a token or issue a coin. It's natively built into the ledger. And we're supplementing that. The community is supplementing that through enhancements that we're bringing, like what we call hooks, what's called hooks by the community, which allows programmability of your CBDC and the XRP token as part of the underlying technology. So we get a lot of benefits of programmability, but in perhaps a safer, more controlled manner. And I think that's also important when we talk to central banks and regulators and monetary authorities. It's risk. And do you want to risk creating a smart contract that potentially might have some vulnerabilities in it? And again, I look back at the XRP ledger. It's got a 10-year history of running with, I will touch wood here, with no real publicized issues or loss of transactions. And that's really, really important when you compare it to today's world.
It's remarkable, in fact, when you compare it to anything in the world. It's one of the most fascinating things I find about it. Now, let's take a listen here where you're going to hear him talk about commercial banks running nodes.
Ripple really bring, this is the manager that we've taken through for central banks and issuers to be used. We've built that for that purpose and to help demonstrate and to help get our customers sort of working.
They've built for the purpose of getting central banks working as their customers. And the central bank's customers to get them all on this. That's what he just said.
The underlying ledger, I mentioned it's open source, but it's essentially part of the solution that Ripple provide. We've chosen the XRP ledger for this as the basis for the CBDC ledger because of the hallmarks that it has. And that would be deployed by a number of parties. That could be deployed entirely by the central bank, or it could be deployed by a technical operator of the payment system, or what we're also seeing is commercial banks running nodes of that network.
Did you get that? Or commercial banks running nodes of that network. That's remarkable. You know, I'm reminded of Anthony Welfare, the gentleman in the very beginning, who really, told us not too long ago, really a handful of weeks ago, that there were going to be more announcements about CBDCs being launched off of the Ripple private ledger for central banks themselves. So this is very, very exciting. This entire interview is great. It goes on to talk about making sure that they provide the privacy for central banks and the customers, as well as retail holders for stable coins and so forth. So privacy is a very real conversation that's happening here. They discuss about a multi-layer solution to keep that privacy intact. I think that aligns greatly with what we've heard Chris Giancarlo talk about as well from the Digital Dollar Project. We'll have to see as we get more information, but that's what we have today. Very, very exciting. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'll catch all of you on the next one.